China's policy is very clear. China will not fire the first shot, but China will not allow you to fire the second shot. China will never allow the United States to launch a war against China, conventional or nuclear, without suffering devastating consequences. If you have not watched the Victory Day parade in Beijing on September the 3rd, one of the weapons China demonstrated, we call it 61, because it can contain 60 nuclear warheads plus one hydrogen bomb. Now, in the world of today, let me tell you, which country has hydrogen bomb? China is the only country with hydrogen bomb. And that ICBM can cover every corner of the world in less than 20 minutes and destroy any target in any corner of the world without any possibility of being intercepted. I hope Washington has learned the lesson. If you want to have war, you will get war. If you want to destroy China, you will be destroyed. If you want to impose nuclear war on China, you will be wiped out by nuclear war. This is very serious. China's
All right, shalom to the elect of Israel. I want to start by giving all the praises, honor, and glory to whom it rightfully belongs, which is Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. And what I said was all the praises, honor, and glory belongs to Yahweh, who is the Heavenly Father, whom the world ignorantly calls God. In the name of His Son, Yahweh Shai, who is the Messiah, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus. In the name of the Holy Spirit, which in Hebrew is Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect. And this lesson is going into bear with me 1 second. No bad. Sorry. Hold on. It's a lot. Bear with me 1 second. You know, it's just, it's, anyways, just talking and stalling, just fucking stalling, bro. So like, just bear with me for a minute. I'm around some, around people and stuff, man. So I kind of got to watch a little of what I'm saying to, leave and whatnot. But basically, Slovakia. Basically, so like, anyways, Slovakia, just, somebody was nearby, messed up the spirit. Anyways, as you saw in the video, right, China, has something to say towards Babylon, man. Towards Babylon the Great, which is America. Okay? And, that came out recently. I saw the video recently, right? But it says, now this came out October 1st, 2025, from the Al Jazeera news article. But it says, Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea are joining forces against America and Israel, as America's adversaries have forged an axis of global instability. Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea exploit trade, technology, and diplomacy to undermine U.S. influence and disrupt the global order. All right? It says, yet long-standing cracks in their relationships reveal the limits of their transactional partnerships. It says, to prevail, the U.S. must double down on its authentic partnerships and innovate new forms of cooperation that outpace its adversaries. It says, despite lacking a shared ideology, Tehran, Beijing, Moscow, and Pyongyang, I'm saying that right, it says, have cooperated since the Cold War to counter Washington with aims at controlling trade routes, reshaping regional balances of power, challenging global norms, and reducing U.S. influence. For example, Iran's nuclear missile programs have used North Korean technology with nuclear plans tracing back to AQ comms proliferation network in the 1990s. All right, let me just read this, right? It says collaboration among U.S. adversaries has significantly increased their capacity to acquire weaponry. See, collaboration, which means working together among U.S. adversaries, has significantly increased their capacity to acquire weaponry, accelerating military modernization and circumventing arms restrictions beyond directly supplying Russia with Iranian drones. Right? Iran's construction of a drone factory on Russian territory to produce Iranian Shahed drones has enabled Russia to launch thousands of them against Ukraine. And so, see, in Russia and Iran, that's a prophesied alliance, man. Ezekiel 38, right? It says China has delivered ballistic missile fuel components to Iran, a key danger that prompted Israel to begin Operation Rising Lion in June. While both China and Russia have also provided intelligence and other forms of military support to the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen, now Moscow, Beijing, and Pyongyang could help Tehran replenish its depleted missile and air defense stocks and production capacity after the 12-day war. Let me just see. Let me read this. It says, in contrast, the Axis' weaknesses are the U.S.'s greatest strength. It says resilient. This is a resilient network of alliances built on mutual interests. For decades, the U.S. has cultivated enduring alliances grounded in the confidence of America's friends that when challenges arise, the U.S. will stand by them. None more so than Israel. It says, as U.S. adversaries grow closer, America must strengthen these alliance networks. The U.S. should pursue continued strategic base integration with Israel, which proved during the 12-day war to be the only U.S. partner willing and able to mount a preemptive offensive against a revisionist Axis nation. All right, point blank period. All right, it said, as U.S. adversaries grow closer, the Lord is, bringing these nations together to ultimately come against America, Babylon the Great. And we all know for ultimately what, which is that nuclear fire that's prophesied to come. You saw that guy in the video, but this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, and verse 9. It says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. The arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man, and none shall return in vain. So it's going to be an assembly of great nations, an assembly of nations to come against America, an assembly of them. All right, a great multitude of nations to come together and shoot, those missiles on America, man. Okay, that's why you see, all these nations and everything, all right, linking up against America. Okay, and especially because in this article it said who else it said Iran, China, Russia. See, Russia is going to play one of the main parts in shooting its missiles here on America, man. All right, it's the book of Isaiah, the 13th chapter, and where is it? Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 17. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. The Lord's going, and the Medes, the modern day Medes, are who? The Russians. Okay, they said the Lord is going to stir up the Russians against who? America. So the Lord is going to cause that, that friction. The Lord is the one causing that friction between America and Russia to happen. All right, the Lord is the one that's going to stir Russia up against this place. It says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Okay. You know, the Lord's going to stir up Russia against it. You can't, meaning what? You can't pay. And then it said, you know, they're not going to regard silver for gold. They're not going to delight in it. Meaning you're not going to be able to pay off the Russians from destroying America. Ain't no, you know, bargain or nothing. It's when that day comes, it's going to be here. Okay. You know, and this ultimately, you know, and then China was in a video, as you saw, talking about the you know, all the missiles and everything it has, or how fast the missiles are and all of that. Look, all these nations coming together, and when that day actually comes, okay, when that day actually comes, you know, to where they will you know, be to where those, you know, nations are going to shoot at America, you know, it's going to be a whole bunch of nuclear missiles, a whole bunch of them, man. So it makes perfect sense as to why Revelation 9 said this. Revelation chapter 9 and verse 16, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. Yeah, so 200 million nuclear warheads. Okay, that's going to be coming up again, because I believe, let me add type of something on Google. Can one cone of an ICBM carry, which I believe it does, multiple warheads? It says, yes, one intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM for short, can carry multiple warheads using a technology known as multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, or MIRVs for short. The front end or nose cone of an ICBM can contain several MIRV warheads, each designed to strike a different target. How the technology works, the boost phase, and let me just see if that will replay.
China's policy is very clear. China will not fire the first shot, but China will not allow you to fire the second shot. China will never allow the United States to launch a war against China, conventional or nuclear, without
nuclear war is going to come regardless, because it's of the Lord.
Suffering devastating consequences. If you have not watched the Victory Day parade in Beijing on September the 3rd, one of the weapons China demonstrated, we call it 61, because it can contain 60 nuclear warheads plus one hydrogen bomb. Now, in the world of today,
you heard that? Let me bring it back.
Can contain 60 nuclear warheads.
Yeah.
The weapons China demonstrated, we call it 61, because it can contain 60 nuclear warheads plus one hydrogen bomb.
Hold on, Salakia. One more time.
Parade in Beijing on September the 3rd. One of the weapons China demonstrated, we call it 61, because it can contain 60 nuclear warheads plus.
So 60 nuclear warheads. So think if they have hundreds and thousands of these ICBMs. Think about it. Think about it. No?
One hydrogen bomb. Now, in the world of today, let me tell you, which country has hydrogen bomb? China is the only country with hydrogen bomb. And that ICBM can cover every corner of the world.
That ICBM can cover every corner of the world
in less than 20 minutes and destroy any target in any corner of the world without any possibility of being intercepted. I hope Washington has learned the lesson. If you want to have war, you will get war. If you want to destroy China, you will be destroyed. If you want to impose nuclear war on China, you will be wiped out by nuclear war. This is very serious.
So, you know, when the scriptures talk about, ICBMs, you know, they're shot from one end. It's in 2nd Ezra 16. I can't remember right now, but let me just see something. It says, USA only fights weak countries. Take it easy, Jackie Chan. The only language they understand is a language of power. It says the American people, at least 70% of us, don't want war with anyone. We want to live in peace and harmony with everyone. There's only one very small group of people that want to rule the world. You know who they are. All right. Well, but in another post, let me just see if I can still get it.
China will never allow.
You know, it's the same video, but if you look at the comments, it says, you notice we, talking about America, never speak about our own weapons like this. It says, LOL, they all fear us. You know. People laughing, etc. Says, haha, look, that funny. Let China touch an American boat again. Then the thing is, hey, that's just, the average pride of America, as Revelation 18 speaks about. Revelation chapter 18 and verse 7. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously. Talking about America. So much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow, because these Americans, they have so much pride. They think nothing bad can happen here. They think, no country would ever do nothing to America. They think, if anything happens, they'll just bomb whatever country. And as you said, and an example of that was the people in the comments. These are real people behind the phone, real American citizens commenting how they feel, that patriotism. So verse 8, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, who judgeth her. Yeah, that's coming. The Lord Yahweh, all right, is going to have these nuclear missiles be sent upon America, man. Okay, on that day of the Lord. All right, these countries are going to come together, and Russia's going to be one of them. All right, that's why Russia is said in Revelation 13, the feet of a bear, because the feet is the end of a thing, right? And so Russia's going to be one of the main countries to end America, and Russia's national symbol is the bear. So, the scriptures speak, and ultimately it's the Lord's doing. All right, the Lord purposes for this place to be destroyed. And I'm going to end it with this. This is the book of Amos, chapter 9, verse 8. Behold, the eyes of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, are upon a sinful kingdom, which is America. And I will destroy it from off the face of the earth. The Lord is going to ultimately wipe America off the face of the earth. They call it the sinful kingdom. All right, it says, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord. So there you go. The Lord's going to, have a remnant. He's going to deliver as well. You're not going to ultimately destroy the whole house of Jacob. You're not going to ultimately destroy all the Israelites. But as for America, this place is finished. All right? This place is finished, man. Okay? And we've been told these people about it, so, hey, it is what it is, We're just watching these people, get caught up in, the prophecies, So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to the elect, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, that well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect of Israel. Shalom.